Hey everyone, we're back with another Old World video. Maybe our last one for a little while.
Maybe we'll see.
No promises, but
no, but it's the gift that keeps on giving. So it's finally here, I guess, or more or less.
Yeah, like more or less. Yeah,
it's January 20th.
We officially put our as a store, we put our numbers in today and confirm what we want or whatever. Essentially, so it's very real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been a long journey, I don't know, 4 years or something of for several years it was just here's a map.
Yep.
Here's some recycled art that's been touched up.
Here's some Kislev.
Here's a what?
Oh.
Yikes.
Let's edit that out.
That's no one knows about that. I wonder what those internal emails were like. But anyway, there's definitely We feel that some bean counter must have been like, no, I'm sorry.
Just what is that big rubber stamp that says denied or whatever?
Denied,
Just mega denied or whatever. Yeah.
But on a more positive note, no, I think it's been good, and it is cool to see everything come together, what it's going to look like, and I think overall the consensus is actually it's not going to be too bad. I think it's smart of GW, this scheme where they do the weekly little updates, and they do several months up in advance with some previews, and they keep reminding people that this is coming and it's going to be good and don't worry about it, and we've thought of everything, and it sounds like they've done at least some of that. And also we were right, they're doing the old movement trays. So anyway, I'm glad they're offering something that because I was I'm always thinking of this other little details about the thing. Although I think they probably should include them in the box. I don't think they're in either of the big boxes. But
no. I mean, you need them to play, but that's called what's the term? Mandatory DLC. Or whatever?
This would have been another great time to just for new players to had how come those bricks of 20 skeletons don't have their own custom little tray or something, so that people are just oh, this is what I do with, I'm supposed to put them in trays.
This is where you kind of get lost in the details sometimes, and this is where our minds go, because we worked at Games Workshops when we were younger, and when people actually had to get into fantasy and had the reality of they built their battalion, they went to the shop, and then they're trying to play a game, and they don't have movement trays. It's so unplayable, basically, right? So. Yeah, just a little detail,
But anyway, no, lots of good stuff. Yeah. So, what do you think of the lineup that they made?
Now that people are I'm seeing there's genuine excitement, and there's some people coming in and ordering things and being excited. I think I've allowed myself to be a little excited finally, and I think just measuring expectations and that, the expectations I feel personally have been dropping for the last 6 months because of what they've actually started showing off, and now I'm just happy and excited to actually get my hands on it. I think at this point now, because it's clear to me now what their formula is going to be going forward, at least for the first little while. These first armies that are coming out, I think they have a formula that they've kind of ascribed to, which I think follows. I think Lord of the Rings is a good example, how they repackaged Lord of the Rings and have been putting it out. So for those of you that don't know, sort of the Lord of the Rings kind of display in a retail store, it's a very simple product on the retail shelf. It's generally a starter set. Right now they have Battle for Osgiliath. They had something before that, so they kind of rotate those. And then they have the army boxes. So there's the $100 army boxes you can buy, and then there's a really small range of kits that you can purchase that are mostly plastic sets. And then everything else is web order only, which we can still get, but there's a little more steps, basically.
This is another thing to make you aware of, whether you're customers of ours or not. If you really want the product, there's a part of the opening day roster that is basically purely online. You're not, even your store's not ordering it for you.
Right.
So whether I think it's was it game aids and cards? Or I don't know if dice are included.
Yeah, so the stuff that made it to
definitely all the forged old resin or whatever you want to call
sure.
it. Yeah.
And then you've got like the magic items and magic spells.
That's right.
I think
That's
packs.
what it was.
So we can get those, but we're literally like customers in that situation where we go on at 1 o'clock
we're sitting in the queue
and we're placing the orders one at a time because you can only order one pack of cards. They limit, which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing. Yeah.
And
you don't want a store like us getting 100.
And then just eBaying them or whatever.
Yeah,
so it is a good thing. But the reality is, so we've got a couple people in line, and we're going to do our best. But you know, we're not going to get 8 of those or something. You know, like so. I
know from my experience dealing with the very awesome and nice community of Lord of the Rings players. There's Ontario has a robust, I don't want to call it club or group that maintain that game and hobby and are very well organized. And anyway, talking to those players, like they've been dealing with this for years. They're so used to it. They're so desensitized that like when there's an awesome new Lord of the Rings release that's like mostly, you know, it's maybe some new forge rolls and new plastics. There's always a card pack that they all want, and the GOV makes like 10 of.
Yeah.
It's gone in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
So
reminds me of the Blood Bowl magazines.
Yeah.
There's Blood Bowl's got these weird pockets of like places that are just nuts over it.
Yes.
And sometimes there's like I know out in Hamilton where I live, there's a store called Black Knight Games, and they have a 30 or 40 clubs or whatever playing every season they play. And so like a new expansion will come out, new team, brand new, and then you need the magazine to play them, and then they
oh my god
they were limited to like one copy. It's like and then it's just like 40 people killing each other to get it or whatever. It's like how do you do that?
Yeah.
So there is the very like reality that could be the case for a little while with this, where they really want to, from Games Workshop's perspective, not take a lot of risk. They want to make sure that everything they're printing is getting sold all the way through the channels, and it'll take a little while maybe for them to start upping the numbers on some stuff they're producing, right?
But you know, I think now that we have a roadmap of what the releases look like, again, I'm like Chris said, I think I feel the same, like kind of like a little bit of excitement. I'm actually like now starting to think about what kind of old world project I'm going to start. So stay tuned for that. That's a little tiny hint of it.
Yeah, we may or may not have a really cool thing that will involve people that don't even live in Canada, maybe.
That's it. Yeah. So, so now it's like thinking of like, okay, which armies? And I'm like, okay, so whatever armies I'm thinking of, they're going to have probably the same style boxes of contents and whatever, and of the old plastics. And so I can start thinking of cool little conversions and painting schemes and ideas. So, no, I think that's going to be pretty good. I guess another question is, what do you think of the prices?
Yeah.
Because whether assuming you're one of those people that was like, don't have anything, we're going to buy some.
Yeah.
I know some Tomb Kings players were probably like, well, it's cheaper than what I've been paying on eBay for the last 8 years or whatever.
That's true. That is true.
I believe Chris can correct me on this. I think the big plastic armory box was $310 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. Which I think is
Canadian dollars.
That's kind of a steal. That's a good price.
If you go by, if you take every unit in there and put it into like today's dollars or whatever, like what would 20 skeletons would be probably minimum $70 or whatever. Obviously,
you get the big dragon in there.
They're not new models. But
that's the caveat for sure.
Still, yeah. But,
and you've got the rule book in there, which is $85 Canadian, which to be expected. It's a big GW book. That's kind of what they're pricing them at these days.
I think the quality of RV books these days. I don't know. I personally am never too upset about the cost of the rule book or army book, because it's like, I know there's like a section of us that's like, well, I remember when they were $20 or whatever.
Sure, price memory is a real thing.
And I'm like,
it erodes in your brain.
But the new books are way nicer.
They're nicer.
Or they've been nice for a while. Yeah. Like the I don't know.
My advice with books always is like, just don't buy it unless you're going to use it, right? Like at the end of the day, like that's how that's how it doesn't feel like a ripoff. Like, don't buy both faction books if you're not going to like use one of them.
Or play it all.
Like I get that you're excited, but like buy the things you want to use, and then you'll feel good about it. Like it'll.
Yeah. Even if you get a couple games out of it, it's already worth it or whatever.
Sure.
Because anyway. And then some of them actually, the pricings were pretty good, because I think aren't they selling like 20 Tomb Guard for like,
it's like $90 or something, yeah, like, which is like I remember like
that's
10 Tomb Guard was like over a decade ago was like 50 something bucks. So like that's
I routinely
solid.
remember This is like, again, 2008 or 7 or whatever. I remember I had a customer at the time. He was like coming back into the hobby. So he was like in the hobby big time in the early 90s. And then he got a little older, had kids, etc. And then he was coming back and he's like, I want to play Dark Elves. And at that time, they were all metal.
Right.
Nice sculpts. This was like 6th, 7th or whatever, 7th edition maybe. And he's like buying 20 Blackguard, 20 Executioners, and each time he's in, it's like $105 for these 20 models or whatever.
And that was a long time ago.
That was like, yeah. So again, this is another little small nugget of like, when you want to be like, oh, it's more expensive now than before. It's not.
It's not. Yeah.
It's not. So I remember, and he bought like 20s of every elite unit and everything, because he was just like, oh, I want to build a full army, and he did, and it was like,
yeah, that was when $100 was $100, right? Like let's be real, 100 Canadian is like, it's like nothing now. It's like almost not to fill up your car.
Little.
So
yeah,
or to have a meal with 2 people or something, like it's
like breakfast.
It's like meaningless now. Whereas back then you're like, whew, $100. I gotta think about this.
I think our American friends can sympathize, because like prices for American meals has gone up a crazy amount. So overall, excited.
So there's only like I think overall the release is packaged really well. There's one thing that I heard about through my trade guy that just maybe raised my eyebrow just a little bit, like introspectively. I was like, really?
Okay.
And that is the way that these like faction books are being handled. So so obviously you have like your core rule book.
I got it.
You've got your Ravenous Hordes and your Forces of Good, or whatever the heck they're called.
Good guy, bad guy book. Yeah.
So
Loyalist
sounds like, and he kind of confirmed this, some of the units are going to be like DLC'd essentially. So like the example he used, which was kind of interesting, is so for those of you that know the Tomb King range well, the Sepulchral Stalkers box that built the Necropolis Knights as well.
Yeah.
So allegedly the Sepulchral Stalkers will be in the Hordes book, but the Necropolis Knights are DLC'd in the extra faction book.
Oh, okay.
So they're sort of like
you have to buy all the books. Okay.
Like an unlock fee to like unlock all of your extra stuff, like your special characters.
First time hearing that.
Yeah. So reaction.
It's a reaction. This is Picard facepalm or whatever. Okay.
I was a little bit on the phone. I was on the phone and I was like, oh really? That's an interesting way to do it.
Always an awkward pause.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not all the units. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. My favorite awkward moment. This is a complete utter segue. Is when Sigmar launched and on our sales, we've had the same sales rep for a decade or whatever, and he's like
a great guy.
He's a good guy. Yeah. Danny. He's like, oh, you got any questions? And I was like, oh, what about a rule book? He's like, yeah. So it's this like 4 pages or whatever, and then there's just an audible silence from like, I don't know, probably 10, 15 seconds, and then I think he's like, hello. I was like, oh no, okay, that's good. Okay, let's keep going. Like, what else? What's
Is
next?
there anything else in there?
No, I just was like, okay. I mean, at that moment, I was like, what, am I not going to get it? It's like,
no, I know.
It was a massive release, and obviously the rest is history. And and even then, it was one of those moments where you're like, you have to step back and be like, again, and this is another like, people are going to be like, you're store owners, you're biased or whatever, but
of course we are.
But of course, when Games Workshop has like does a massive thing like that, it's like, they need it to succeed. So like, because it's like, if it doesn't, it's like a huge hole. It could set them back from progress, or in some cases, some companies, they could significantly damage them or whatever. So I had a moment and I was like, no, these guys are like, there's a lot of smart people there. They've tried this and tried that. And, people like to be like, they're senseless and they don't think. I'm like, no, trust me, they employ many people, and a lot of those people are thinking about this stuff all the time, and how to make it, because like those two things are related. If the company wants to make money, they also have to make good things.
Yes, 100%.
And especially because their products aren't cheap. So like, there's nothing worse than an expensive item that's bad. That'll sink you like so quickly, right? So anyway, so that is interesting about the further DLC. So they basically made it. It's the equivalent of a video game where you have regular, premium, and then you've deluxe, which you if you want everything plus the stupid keychain, you
Yeah.
need to buy the deluxe.
Like the keychain, like is like it's you already have the keychain, so like it's like I need to know what it does.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's like, yeah. So, and I you could argue like at the end of the day, it's not really much different than you just buying the army book. Like so,
yeah.
there's more steps involved, but like price wise, it's going to kind of all work out. I think. I kind of like the idea because I was we love Warhammer so much, so we would almost buy like every army book that came out.
Yeah.
So
just to read it,
for us to have like I'm not gonna sit here and act like I wouldn't buy like Buying the Force is a good book, and like having all the factions, I'm like I love that. I can like pour through, and I love like thinking about other armies I might collect or like whatever. So
I mean, it's like when HH came back.
Yeah.
We like between our friend group, we had like 8 or 9 of us
all sitting around the table, just like pouring through the factions and weapons and special rules, and
just
it's fun.
It was
it's
pretty fun. Yeah,
book day is always exciting. I love
book day is great.
It's gonna be
book day. You
can
brew a big pot of coffee, and you got your little notepad and pencil, and you start scribbling ideas. You can't get that. You only get that for like a few days, and that's it. It's like you can't get that back. It's like so.
It's a magnificent time,
good.
Especially when you're like there's this highly
no kids around.
You always add that in.
Yeah.
the most highly anticipated day when you have an army you love and is really excited about, and you know the book's coming that day. And you're just like, let's get a pot of coffee on. Let's sit down and read this thing. It's the reason why I really don't like to go online for spoilers when I can avoid it. Too.
No, that's something that I cringe. I don't like. Yeah. It's when people I avoid the man who reads book videos and all of that.
Yeah.
You should watch me do that though, but don't. Yeah, I can't do it.
His is more ASMR anyway, so it's better content.
Like my soft voice, but no, that is I always like actually even our own hobby group chat is like guilty of it. The excitement, and they start like, oh, but it does this, and I just like I see that and I just mark red and avoid it because to me it destroys. It's a whole little segment of the hobby is discovering little nuggets for yourself and taking it in and formulating your own opinions and ideas and whatever. I think there's two things. They're both valuable. I think if you want to be a competitive player and like try and make great lists and do well in the game, I think the hive mind is very powerful and like probably the only way to do it. And probably most great players do that anyway or whatever. But yeah, day one book, just taking it in on your own is awesome.
It's fun. It's a good time.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about the Old World? Are you still excited? Are you planning on pre-ordering anything this Saturday?
You picked an army?
That's the biggest thing, right? Yeah. Have you picked an army? Those sort of things.
Yeah.
Let us know. Like, what is the rubber just hitting the road?
Yes.
Are you on or are you off?
Oh, and sneaky small thing. If you're gonna buy anything, if you're one of those people that's like, I think I'm gonna do this, but I don't want to spend $700 on day one.
Yeah.
If you're gonna buy one thing, probably you should buy bags of bases or whatever.
Oh, like right away for what's gonna go out of stock?
Because they have bases available, and I'm sure they made lots, but people go crazy. People might literally buy like several hundred bases each just in case.
Yeah.
Because like no one's had any squares on the market pretty much. Like even third parties, like not easy, at least to get from like a hobby distributor, etc.
And based on what we've seen, like historically, like stuff like that, it takes a long time to get back in stock, which is unfortunate. I hope it doesn't.
It's low priority, right?
I hope it doesn't
because they're like we could make more Lionel Johnsons, or we could make some 20 mil little discs or squares or whatever. One of these is way more lucrative than the other.
Unfortunately,
yeah. So anyway.
Good luck this weekend, and we'll probably do a follow-up video probably after the release weekend.
Yes,
just to let you know how it kind of went. And
And maybe what armies would you like to see Chris and I potentially do?
No one's watching anymore.
I know. That's why I said that.
Take care, guys.
See you later.
Next time.
Bye.